So you've probably heard that watermelon is nature's Viagra. And look, there's truth to that. It's not just marketing. But here's what nobody tells you. Eating watermelon by itself, it barely works. The guys who actually see results, the ones who notice a real difference in performance, they're mixing it with something. 3 specific ingredients, actually. And that combination, that's what turns watermelon from a nice summer snack into something that genuinely supports blood flow where it matters. I'm Dr. Nancy Starr. I've spent over a decade in urology and men's health, and I see this literally every day in my clinic. Guys doing everything right on paper, eating all the good foods and getting almost nothing from them. Watermelon's the perfect example. So I've got a few things I want to walk you through today, mostly stuff that's blocking your progress without you even knowing it. And then we'll get into the actual recipe and that multiplier I mentioned, the mixing part, because that's where this gets interesting. But here's the thing. If you skip ahead to the recipe, you're going to miss the part that makes it work. The recipe itself is dead simple. What's not simple is understanding why your body might be blocking the benefits before they ever hit your bloodstream. So stick with me through the science first, and then I promise we'll get to the practical stuff. Alright, let's start with something that's going to catch you off guard. The first thing we need to look at is your mouthwash. I know it sounds a bit strange, but hear me out. What could mouthwash possibly have to do with blood flow, with erections? Turns out a lot. And the connection is direct. Here's what's happening. Your mouth contains bacteria, not the bad kind, essential bacteria. There are colonies living on your tongue that convert dietary nitrates into nitrites. This is step 1 in a chain reaction that eventually produces nitric oxide, which is the molecule that tells your blood vessels to relax and dilate. And when we're talking about erections, that dilation is kind of the whole ball game, right? Wait, let me back up for a second and explain this pathway more clearly, because once you get it, everything else clicks into place. When you eat nitrate-rich foods, beets, leafy greens, watermelon, those nitrates enter your saliva. The bacteria on the back of your tongue, particularly species like Veillonella and Actinomyces, have enzymes called nitrate reductases. These enzymes convert nitrates into nitrites. You swallow the nitrites, they hit your stomach, and in that acidic environment, they get converted into nitric oxide. This is called the enterosalivary pathway, and it accounts for a big chunk of your body's daily nitric oxide production. Some researchers estimate up to 25% of the nitrates you consume get recycled through this oral pathway. That's not minor, that's essential. So, what happens when you use antiseptic mouthwash, especially the kind with chlorhexidine? You're sterilizing your mouth, you're killing those bacteria, and when those bacteria are gone, that conversion process just stops. This isn't me speculating. A study published in Free Radical Biology and Medicine found that chlorhexidine mouthwash significantly reduced the body's ability to convert nitrates to nitrites. And within just a few days, participants showed measurable increases in blood pressure. Their blood vessels weren't getting the signal to relax. The nitric oxide pathway was disrupted at step 1. Make sense? So, if you're eating beets, leafy greens, watermelon, any of the foods that are supposed to support circulation, and you're also swishing with antiseptic mouthwash twice a day, you're basically canceling out the benefit. The nitrates go in, the bacteria aren't there to process them, and most of it just passes through. Now look, I'm not saying throw out your mouthwash forever, but if circulatory health matters to you, if performance matters to you, consider switching to a non-antibacterial option, or just use salt water. Your oral microbiome will thank you. Then there's vitamin D. This one's less obvious, but it's critical, especially for men over 60. Vitamin D plays a direct role in endothelial function. The endothelium is the thin layer of cells lining every blood vessel in your body. It's the tissue that actually produces nitric oxide. When your vitamin D levels are low, your endothelial cells get sluggish. They produce less nitric oxide and your blood vessels lose their ability to dilate properly. Actually, let me spend a moment on the endothelium because most people have never even heard of it. And it's arguably the most important tissue in your body when it comes to circulatory health and sexual health for that matter. The endothelium is a single layer of cells, incredibly thin, coating the interior surface of every artery, vein, and capillary. If you spread it out flat, It'd cover roughly 6 tennis courts. And this tissue isn't passive. It's constantly sensing, signaling, responding to changes in blood flow, pressure, and chemistry. One of its primary jobs is producing nitric oxide. When blood flows past endothelial cells, the shear stress triggers an enzyme called endothelial nitric oxide synthase, ENOS for short. This enzyme produces nitric oxide, which then diffuses into the surrounding smooth muscle cells and tells them to relax. The blood vessel dilates, blood pressure drops, circulation improves. And in the context of erections, that's the mechanism. That's how it works. When your endothelium is healthy, this happens seamlessly. But when it's damaged by inflammation, oxidative stress, high blood sugar, or nutrient deficiencies, nitric oxide production tanks. Your blood vessels become stiffer. They lose their responsiveness, and that's when problems start showing up. I see this literally every day in my clinic. Men come in with circulatory issues, performance issues. We run their blood work, and their vitamin D is in the basement. They spend most of their time indoors. They live in northern climates, they don't supplement, and their bodies are paying the price. The fix is straightforward. Get your levels tested, and if you're low, supplement. Most men over 60 need somewhere between 2,000 and 5,000 IU daily. But talk to your doctor about the right dose for you. The point is, if your vitamin D is deficient, your endothelium isn't working right. And if your endothelium isn't working, all the watermelon in the world won't help. Next thing I want to cover, sodium-potassium imbalance. Here's the part that surprises my patients. Most men know too much sodium is bad for blood pressure. What they don't realize is that potassium is equally important, and most Americans are severely deficient. Sodium and potassium work together to regulate fluid balance and blood vessel tone. When you've got too much sodium and not enough potassium, your blood vessels constrict. They become less flexible. The endothelium has to work harder to produce the same effect. The average American consumes about 3,400 milligars of sodium per day, but only 2,500 milligars of potassium. That ratio is backwards. You should be getting more potassium than sodium. Ideally, around 4,700 milligars daily. Good sources include bananas, sweet potatoes, spinach, and here's the connection, watermelon. 1 cup of watermelon contains about 170 milligars of potassium. Not a massive amount, but it contributes. The thing is, if your overall diet is sodium heavy and potassium light, you're creating an environment where blood vessels struggle to relax. Fix the ratio and everything else works better. This next one almost never gets discussed, but it matters. Shallow breathing. Nitric oxide is produced not just in your endothelium, but also in your nasal passages. When you breathe deeply through your nose, you're actually stimulating nitric oxide production in the sinuses. That nitric oxide gets carried into your lungs where it helps dilate blood vessels and improve oxygen delivery. When you breathe through your mouth or take shallow chest-level breaths, you're bypassing this entire mechanism. Less nitric oxide, less signal for your blood vessels to relax. I tell my patients to practice slow, deep nasal breathing for just 5 minutes a day. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds. Simple, but the physiological effects are real. You're directly supporting the same pathway that watermelon supports. And then there's insulin spikes. When you eat foods that cause rapid spikes in blood sugar, refined carbs, sugary drinks, processed snacks, your body releases a surge of insulin, and insulin in high amounts damages the endothelium. It creates oxidative stress. It reduces nitric oxide availability. Over time, repeated insulin spikes lead to endothelial dysfunction, which is basically the precursor to most cardiovascular and circulatory problems. This is why eating watermelon by itself, especially just the sugary red flesh, isn't optimal. You're getting some citrulline, yes, but you're also getting a glycemic load that can trigger an insulin response. The key is combining watermelon with other nutrients that slow absorption and blunt that spike. Which brings us to the multiplier, the mixing part I mentioned at the beginning. But before I get into that, you need some context on why watermelon works in the first place. The real magic in the watermelon, the stuff we actually care about, is an amino acid called L-citrulline. Your body converts it into L-arginine, which then gets used to produce nitric oxide. Now you might be thinking, why not just take L-arginine directly? Good question. The answer has to do with something called first-pass metabolism. When you consume L-arginine orally, a large percentage gets broken down in your liver and intestines before it ever reaches your bloodstream. It gets metabolized too quickly. You lose most of it before it can do any good. L-citrulline, on the other hand, bypasses that first-pass metabolism. It enters your bloodstream intact, travels to your kidneys, and gets converted to L-arginine there. This means more of it actually becomes available for nitric oxide production. Studies have consistently shown that oral L-citrulline supplementation raises plasma L-arginine levels more effectively than taking L-arginine itself. Make sense? That's why watermelon is so valuable. It's one of the richest natural sources of L-citrulline. But here's the catch, and this is the part most people get wrong. Most of the citrulline isn't in the red flesh. It's in the white rind, the part everyone throws away. I'll come back to that in a second. First, the multiplier. If you want to seriously boost the effectiveness of the citrulline you're consuming, you need to mix it with 3 things: healthy fat, vitamin C, and piperine. Let's go through them. Healthy fat first. L-citrulline is water-soluble, so it absorbs reasonably well on its own. But the other beneficial compounds in watermelon, including certain carotenoids, are fat-soluble. Adding a small amount of healthy fat like olive oil improves absorption of these compounds and slows the overall digestion process, which reduces that glycemic spike I mentioned earlier. 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. That's it. Next, vitamin C. Here's something most people don't know. Nitric oxide is highly reactive. It gets destroyed by oxidative stress almost as quickly as your body produces it. Vitamin C is a potent antioxidant that protects nitric oxide from this degradation. When you consume vitamin C alongside citrulline, you're essentially extending the lifespan of the nitric oxide your body produces. More of it stays active. More of it reaches your blood vessels. Easiest source, fresh lemon juice. Half a lemon squeezed into your preparation. And finally, piperine. This is the compound that gives black pepper its bite. Piperine's been shown in multiple studies to increase the bioavailability of various nutrients by inhibiting certain enzymes in your gut and liver that would otherwise break them down. Adding just a pinch of black pepper to your watermelon preparation can significantly increase how much citrulline actually makes it into your system. So the multiplier formula is simple: olive oil, lemon, black pepper. That's what you mix with the watermelon. That's what turns it from a mediocre snack into something that actually moves the needle. Now let's talk about the rind. The white part of the watermelon, the pale layer between the green skin and the red flesh, that's where the good stuff is. Studies have shown that the rind contains higher concentrations of L-citrulline compared to the red flesh, often more on a dry weight basis. This isn't a small difference. We're talking about the difference between a maintenance dose and a therapeutic dose. The red flesh contains roughly 1 to 2 milligrams of citrulline per gram in some measures. The white rind can offer more depending on the variety and ripeness. When you eat watermelon the normal way, slicing off a wedge, eating the red part, throwing the rest away, you're literally discarding a valuable portion. It's like peeling an orange and only eating the pith. I had a patient last year, retired engineer, very analytical guy. He tracked his citrulline intake for a month using both methods, eating just the red flesh versus incorporating the rind. His estimate was that by using the rind, he was getting substantially more citrulline from the same watermelon. I know the rind doesn't taste great on its own. It's bland, a little tough, but that's where the preparation comes in. When you blend the rind with some of the red flesh, lemon juice, olive oil, and black pepper, you create something that's actually pleasant to drink and way more effective than eating red watermelon alone. All right, now here's the honest part. This protocol works. It's backed by real science, but it requires consistency and it requires volume. To get a clinically meaningful dose of L-citrulline from watermelon rind, you need to consume roughly 1 to 2 cups of rind daily. For some men, that's no problem. For others, especially men over 60 who may have digestive sensitivities or simply don't want to spend their evenings blending watermelon, it's just not realistic. That's why I recommend having a backup option. In the description below, you'll find a link to a high-grade organic watermelon extract. It's concentrated citrulline from the rind standardized to deliver a clinical dose in a form that's easy to take daily. No blending, no prep, just consistent support for the nitric oxide pathway. And for men who want something with a faster effect, something that provides more immediate support for performance situations, there's also an advanced direction solution linked in the description and pinned in the comments. It's designed for men who need a boost while they're building their baseline with the dietary approach. Both links are there. Use what makes sense for your situation. But if you want to do this the whole food way, here's the exact protocol. You'll need 1 cup of white watermelon rind cut into chunks, half a cup of the red watermelon flesh. This is important for taste because rind alone is pretty much undrinkable. Half a lemon juiced, 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil, and a pinch of freshly ground black pepper. Put the rind and the red flesh in a blender together. Add the lemon juice, the olive oil, and the pepper. Blend until smooth. The red flesh gives you natural sweetness that masks the blandness of the rind, and it adds some additional citrulline, just less concentrated than what's in the white part. The result should taste like a slightly tart, peppery watermelon smoothie. Not a milkshake, not dessert, but genuinely drinkable. If it's too thick, add a splash of water, just enough to get the consistency you want. Drink this once daily. Morning is ideal on an empty stomach so the citrulline absorbs without competing with other foods. Consistency matters more than perfection. If you miss a day, don't stress. Just get back to it the next morning. The benefits are cumulative. Your endothelium responds to sustained support, not one-time doses. And here's what I really want you to understand. This isn't just about erections. I know that's probably why most of you clicked on this video, and that's fine. No judgment. But the nitric oxide pathway affects every blood vessel in your body, your heart, your brain, your kidneys, your extremities. When you support endothelial function, you're supporting the health of your entire cardiovascular system. Actually, let me put it this way. The 1998 Nobel Prize in Medicine was awarded for the discovery of nitric oxide as a signaling molecule. That's how big this is. Robert Furchgott, Louis Ignarro, and Farid Murad shared the prize for uncovering that this simple gas, a molecule made of just 1 nitrogen atom and 1 oxygen atom, was the key messenger controlling blood vessel dilation. Before their work, scientists didn't understand how blood vessels knew when to relax. The discovery of nitric oxide's role changed cardiology, urology, and our entire understanding of circulatory health. It directly led to the development of medications for heart disease and erectile dysfunction. But more importantly for our purposes, it revealed that your body has a natural system for producing this molecule, and that system can be supported through diet and lifestyle. You have the ability to influence this every single day through what you eat, how you breathe, the habits you maintain. The watermelon protocol is one piece of that puzzle, but it's a powerful piece. And now you know how to use it correctly. So here's your assignment this week. Get a watermelon. Cut it open. Save the rind. Make the preparation I just described. Rind red flesh, lemon, olive oil, black pepper, and drink it tomorrow morning. See how you feel. Pay attention to your energy, your circulation, your overall sense of vitality. And if you want to make it easier on yourself, check the links in the description. The organic extract is there for daily support. The advanced solution is there for situations where you need faster results. But either way, start. Stop eating watermelon the wrong way. Dr. Nancy Starr Men Health.